It's a set of variables or attributes and behaviors or methods, which is, we can say in one shot that class is nothing but a set of attributes, or I can say variables, right, and methods, right. And we have seen a class which is a human class, where human class, let me just take it that again. In human class, we have seen that there will be two different sets of properties to human. So just to compare the class with how exactly a class is created, like, let me take up the same example again for everyone here. Like, human can have a ear, a eye, right, or a hands and all, right. So these are nothing but an attribute of a human, which are inbuilt, right. And he'll never be able to change the attribute type. And we have something called human can walk, human can talk, right, and just run, and so much of that, right. So these are nothing but behaviors. So these are attributes and these are behaviors of a human class. And if you take as a whole, you will never get anything else apart other than attribute and behavior of a human. You can just think about one item which is out of a behavior and attribute, right. You will never get, because whatever you think of a human, it will at least fall into either a behavior or a attribute, right. So which means you can actually club a human into a class which contains a set of attributes and set of behaviors. In the same way, we have a class. In a class, we have something called variables and methods, or we can also call it as functions, right. Functions. So these act as the same as attributes and methods over here, or behaviors over here. So in our class, we say that it is a variable and a method. So in the same way, if you take a parallel class, which is an animal class, so it will be having different maybe attributes or different way of behavior, right. So that's how we actually classify from one class to another class. We just say that yes, this is a human class, which means whenever you create a human like now. Let me do పండు నాకు యాక్చువల్గా క్లాస్ నడుస్తుంది, కూర్చునే మాట్లాడండి. Yeah, right. So in the same way, we'll be having so many classes like an animal class or a bird class, different, where what we are saying is we are just taking up one main class of each and every breed, and we are differentiating, because we know that a human behaves in certain way and he have got certain attributes. An animal behaves in certain way and it have got certain attributes and behaviors, right. So that is nothing but a class. And in the same way, they have taken it as a class in our Java, which is a combination of variables and methods, right. Now let's go on to next step here. Now if we have just a human class, right, if we have a human class and if you don't create like humans, what is the use of human class, right? Which means, let me take up an example. Now, how to use this human? In order to use this human class or a normal class in a Java, let me take something like, let us say there is a guy called Ajay, right? Which means Ajay is of type human, right? So which means Ajay is a type of human in a sense. Ajay inherits all the attributes and the behaviors of a human class. Now, so this is a class and this is a object of human class. So that is the difference between what is a class and object, right? A class is something which is a set of your attributes and behaviors, right? And we have created a guy. So there is a guy called Ajay who is actually a human class object, which means we can take an Ajay and access all the behaviors and attributes of human. In the same way, let's talk technically now, which is class class in Java, right? Let me take a class, sample class here. We have already seen how to define a class, right? Which is, let me take a public class, let me call it as my first class, my first, right? So I'll be explaining each term later when we actually define methods and all anyways, right? So let me take a attribute set or a variable. So what will be the variables? Variables will be the one where you cannot change the face, but you can change the value of them, which is, let me take int I is equal to 10, right? Or char c is equal to some character here, some dollar, right? So these are nothing but different variables we have, right? And we can have some functions or methods. So let me take one method, which is a starting or trigger method of every class in Java, which is public static void main. We have something called string array of args a and something. So this is a standard trigger point method which we have in Java. Like for any class, if you want to start with the execution, right, this is the main method which we have. So the actual trigger point is this. Actual switch to start a class for a next is execution is this, right? And you can have different methods, which is, I'll say public some void, right? Some void, and we have some function. Let me take it as print line is my function, right? Inside that I'll just say sys out of, or to be more specific, system dot out dot print ln of, let's say, hello, right? So this is your method. So here in our class, which is my first, we have two attributes and we have two behaviors. Also, to talk in technical terms, we have two variables and we have two methods or functions, right? So now we have created a class here. Now, so why we create class is so that this class can serve outside world with their some attributes and their behaviors, right? Now, how to use the attributes and behaviors of a class in outside world is that we have to create an object of this, right? How to create an object of this? So here, if you can see here, there was a human class, right, with some attributes and behaviors. But in order to use this human class to actually generate something, we have created a guy called Ajay. Now Ajay is an object of a human class, so that he can use all the attributes and behaviors of a class, right? So in the same way, we have my first, where, so if you want to create a object of this, how to do that is, we have to do my first, a class name first, and some variable. Let me take it as some obj is my variable of an object, like Ajay. We have defined Ajay here, right? So in the same way, our obj is nothing but a variable of my first class. Now, so in order to create an object or an instance, you say new word. So new is a keyword or a reserved word or a registered word in Java, which is used to create an instance or create an object of any class. Fine. So we just say my first again. Now you have created an object of your class, which is my first, right? And if you see the same way of declaration here, if you take a human class, how to just compare these two is, I'll take when we are creating an Ajay object, we just say human Ajay, right, is equal to new human, right? Now I hope you understand, which is human is a class where we have some attributes and behaviors, and Ajay is an object of human, which is, in order to create an object of human, we have to take a class and the variable of that class name, right? And this is where you're actually instantiating or creating an instance or creating an object for a human class, and the object name is nothing but an Ajay. In the same way here, we have a class my first, where there are some variables and some methods, and if you want to use this in outside world, you have to create an object. Now we have how to create that. is this in way, right? The class and the variable name for the class and new keyword and the class and the class name with some semicolon. This is how you create an object, right? So this is nothing but a class and object, and let me just give you a simple example in Eclipse so that you can understand much on what I always while creating an object I always took one word, which is how to use the variables and methods outside this class, right? So that was a main term which I have been using, and let us see how we can actually do this practically, right? Let me go to Eclipse here, right? So we have a project here. Let me just take one class. Right. Let me create a package first. Just some package. PT2, some package here, right? So under this, so we will be learning what is a package. So while I have created this package, you will be learning this as a separate topic in Java, which is very important again. I'll be taking through the complete packages class. Okay, now how to create a classes. I hope you guys know Eclipse, and if you don't know Eclipse, right, I'll be explaining that for you in upcoming class, so that you know. So Eclipse is nothing but an IDE or integrated development environment, right, which is used to write the Java programs. You can also write a Java program in normal Notepad and compile it using a command prompt, and you can do that. But if you do in that way, you have to write your own code in you won't be getting any much support from what are the different things you have in Java, and what is the syntactical errors you are seeing, what is the design time errors and all, right? But Eclipse is something which will give you a clear representation of what exactly it is, and wherever you are doing some design time or runtime errors, it will show you everything for you. So design time, runtime errors, it's a big term. We'll be learning that in our upcoming classes, right? So as of now, we are using this Eclipse, right? Let us finish this class, and if you have any doubts in Eclipse and all, anyways, I have to take a class for you guys to just cope up with this, right? So here we'll be taking a new class. It's the same class I was talking about here. Right here I was talking about something, right? So let me just take same class, my first. Let me take the same class, or let me call this a CLS my first, because we have to create in Java, you have to maintain some nomenclature, and you have to mention your class name. That should always start with a capital, and then you can use a camel case if you want, right? And let me just finish so that the class will be added for you, right? Now you can see this is your class which we were talking about here, right? Which is public class, right? Now you have a class over here, right? And this is again a registered word. Class is a registered word. So what is a registered word? Now registered word or a reserved word in Java is nothing but a keyword which your JVM will understand. Now here you can see that whatever your JVM can understand, your Eclipse will make it purple, right? Let me just add class something like white. Can you see here the color of this got changed because that was not a registered word in Java or in JVM. So that's how your Eclipse will show all the registered words or keywords in purple color, right? So that is nothing but a class. And what is public? Public is an access modifier, right? So here we are using some public access modifier. You'll be learning what are access modifiers, what are different types of access modifiers, and what are non-access modifiers in our upcoming classes. But here, let me just give you a quick glance of public. Public is nothing but you are defining an access to this class, which means if anyone want to use these attributes and behaviors outside the world of this class, which means you have to make it public. Otherwise, you will never be able to use these services outside, right? So you will be learning much of what is this token in our upcoming classes, right? Now, so here we have public class CLS my first we have created, and let me create some variables here. Let me take int I is equal to 10, right? Int x is equal to 20, right? These are two variables we have, and let me create functions here, which is public, let me say void, right? I'll just say print, or let me take a add method, right? Here I'll just say return I, let me just take a simple one, which is sysout. So here I said your Eclipse will be used, which is which supports much of to write a program in a faster way, right? Which is this. So basically what we do, in order to print something, it is in C++, it is same as cout. I hope you know what is cout and cprint, right? It is the same, which is system.out.println, right? So this is in Java for printing something, right? If I want to print some hello world, so we use this, right? So in Eclipse, so you don't have to type in everything. There are some shortcuts here, which is just say sysout and control space. You'll be getting the complete one, right? You will get at one shot each and every time, whatever it is, like sys err, if you want to print error, right? It will be printing. So in our upcoming classes, so whenever we are, whenever I am showing you each and every example, at that point I'll give you the shortcuts that in real time how fast you can actually write a program. You'll be looking into that when we actually move into our higher classes, right? So here I'm just taking one method, which is add here, right? Let me just make it as a print. As we are printing something here, let me take it as print some data, right? This is my method. And let me take one more method here, which is public void, right? Add and print some method, which is the behavior of this, right? And I'll just say I'll take some int z is equal to I plus x, right? Where I'm just adding two numbers here, which is my I and x, which I'm using this attributes or variables inside, and I'm just adding up. And what I'll do, I'll just print my z here, which is I want to print the sum of two numbers here, right? Now let us create a separate class again, because if you want to use this in outside world, in the sense you have to create a separate class, or if this class is already created and if you want to use that, so we are creating that class now, right? Now let me create the class, one more class, which is, let me call it as CLS source, or CLS source, which is the class which is a main class here, right? Now CLS source. So now what I want to do is, I want to use these attributes or these behaviors, right, in this source class. Now let us see how to do that. Now, as I said, your main public static void main is a trigger point of any class, right? See here, I have not written any main over here because I don't want this class to be a startup class. I just want to use this class to do some operations, right? That's it, or to just declare some data, right? So I'll be using this class in here. Let us see how. So in order to write, I just said, which is public static void main, right? So you don't have to remember the syntax, but main syntax is the same, which is public static void main and some system arguments, string arguments, and an a, right? So here in Eclipse, it will help you to write this syntax. Just type in main, control space, it will give you the main method, and click on enter, right? It will give you the shortcut and it will do everything for you, right? We just wrote some main here now. So this is my class. No, so let me make this attributes public, and let me make this attribute public, because we are making them public, where even if you create an object here, so these guys will be available for this class, right? Now how to create an object? So we just said you have to take the class name, which is CLS my first, and even here if you type in something and if you do control space, it will give you an option. See, it will even take the class name. Whatever you have multiple classes, it will take all the class names, right? Now as it will follow the same, which is we just created a class name obj. Let me take the variable obj here. Obj is equal to new keyword. Now see here, new keyword turned into purple because new is a registered word in JVM, and which knows whenever you use new and then class name, which is CLS, let me take my first, right? Now what it does is, this obj is nothing but a variable of this class, and you are assigning an instance of it or an object of this. So how it is happening is, this is a new of this class, right? Now an instance will be added to your obj. Now you are ready to go to use all these things. Now let us see how you can use this, right? Now let me just say obj. So in order to access all the attributes and behaviors or variables and methods of this class, right, outside world, is first step is to create an object. And now we are done with an object. Now we have to start accessing them, right? Now how to access is, so you have to use a variable or an object and press dot. When you press dot, you will be able to access each and every attribute and methods of this in this class. See here, when I press dot, you will be getting I and x, right? So these are, you can see here the class name. I is an integer variable which is from CLS my first, which is this, right? Type in that. Now let me just print this out, right? Where I'm just printing my obj.i. You can see here obj.i, right? I'm just printing that. So in the same way, let me just print obj.x, fine, which is here. I'm just printing one more variable which is x. See here, I'm accessing all the variables from this class, fine. Now let me call these two functions. How to call these two functions? Again, you can just say obj dot. When you just say dot, type in some method start, which is print. See, you can see here that it gave the print data, which is a method in my CLS first, right? Type in that, and you have one more method which is obj dot add and print, right? It will give you that. Now what we have done is, we have created a separate class which is CL source, right? And we have created a trigger point here which is main, and now my application will be starting from CLS source here, where I'm creating an object of this, a separate class, right, which is CLS my first, right here, where there are attributes, there are variables and methods defined. So what I'm doing is, I'm accessing all these things from here, right? Now let me just run this up and see what is the output we are getting, right? Now whenever I'm running this out, let me just give something like, let me just give some statement so that you can understand this. This is out of something I am in source, right? Source, which means we have just started here and I'm trying to access the variables, right? So I'll just say started accessing, right? Started accessing CLS my first class variables, right? Variables where we are printing this. Now next step is started accessing CLS methods, right? And we are accessing this now. So this is how we access the methods and the variables. Now run this up. So in order to run your program in Eclipse, you can either do right click on your a class, and you can just go to run as and Java application, fine. If you click on that, it will automatically build your class inside. Now you can see here it says I am in source, right, which is I am in source, right, and it says started accessing my first variables. This is the one, and here you can see it is actually printing something called 10 and 20, right, which is obj.i. Obj is nothing but an object of or a variable of this class, where you can see here that the I is there and value is 10. We got that printed here, right? And we have accessed something obj.x. X is nothing but the variable here, which is 20 here. It got printed here, fine, 10 and 20. Now this is how we access a variable. Now let's move on. It says started accessing CLS my first methods, right? which is we have started accessing a method here, obj.print data. Now you can go to print data here, right? You can see in print data we are just just printing some hello world. So here we got a hello world. Now let's go back here. Now again, using this object we are accessing something called a different method, so which is add and print. You can go here, you can see add and print. What we are doing here is we are taking the sum of these two numbers and saving in one variable, and we are printing that outside, which is I plus x, 10 plus 20 is 30. 30 will be in z, and we are printing the 30 here. You can see 30 here, right? So this is how we actually access different classes and different methods in a separate class. Now if you want to use this class in the outside world, you have to do first thing called as creating an object. Fine. Now whenever we create an object, so we'll be learning something like stack and heap. So that is very important to know how memory allocation is being done here, right? Because what is a memory is nothing but each and every data type will have its own memory space, which is like int is of 4 bytes, right? And some character is of 2 bytes, right? There are different memory allocations or memory spaces being allocated to each and every data type there in Java, right? So your class will be defined in that way. If I say what is the complete memory of this, you have to count on each and every possible memories in there. So anyways, we'll come to that, and we'll understand what is a memory, what are the different type of memory accessors we have, like stack and heap, and we'll understand what is a stack and heap in next class, right? And what we'll do is we'll try to understand whenever we are creating an object of any class, how it is moving in a stack and heap, right? So which is actually very important for real-time applications, right? So now this is what we have, a class and object. So you have any doubts in here? Right, Shiva? Yeah?
It's good. Yeah. Like the object, it starts with a capital letter, right?
An object? Sorry?
The object should start with the uppercase letter, right? The class source, the first letter should be a caps, right?
This variable you are talking about?
No, the object name. The class source object name.
The class source object name. Yeah, I've created this class and object I've created here, right?
The first letter should be a capital letter, right?
This one you are saying?
No, the public class source.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That's the object name, right? The first letter should be a capital letter, right?
No, this is not an object. This is a separate class. This is not an object. This is a separate class, and we have started it with capital letter CLS, source, right? What we are doing is, this is a separate class, and we are creating object inside a method.
Okay.
Sure? You see, whatever you can do, creating an object, writing a logic, you can do only inside some methods, right? You cannot do outside method. I cannot write something like, right, sys out here, which is not allowed. If I say sys out here, see, it won't give me. Even if I try to copy paste it in outside my method, it will give that there is no scope for this, right? Syntax error, which is there is no scope for writing a logic outside. In the same way, whatever I said, creating an object should be done inside some method here, which is your method is main, which is inside your class, which is CLS source. And CLS source is not an object here, it is a class where we have a method again. It is same as separate class. Whatever we understood here, even this is the same class, right, which contains some methods and variables. And it is not mandatory that your method should have a variable and a method. You can have a class where there is only attribute. You can have a class where there is only methods, right? So here we have written a class which contains only one method, which is a trigger method. Inside that we are creating an object, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And one more thing, who is speaking here? Is it
Raghu? It's Raghu.
Raghu? Okay, fine. So anyways, see here, whatever I'm doing, like int I and x, right? So actually this is not the actual type of programming. Just to understand, I'm giving. But anyways, I'll be taking up one class for explaining what is a nomenclature you should use in real time. We should use
Okay.
camel casing one. I'll explain you each and every item, like how to define a variable name, how to define a method name, how to define a inner names, right? All those things,
Okay.
and what is the different scopes. We'll be having one class, one set of class, because in real time you should never write programming this way. This is a very bad
Okay.
programming, right? But here,
Okay.
as we are in started learning, I should not use a big terms. Actually, we should write this as something like, I should say LINT first way. So you'll never understand this what exactly this guy is writing, right? Because we are just starting our learning Java, right?
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I'll be explaining. You are right. Actually, we have to follow some, whatever you said is, you have to follow some nomenclature in Java to define a variable names and method names, right?
Okay.
We'll be checking out that.
Okay.
Yeah, Shiva, you were asking some question. Please go on.
No, it's good. You can go.
Hello, Shiva. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You
Yeah,
had.
everything. No, I don't have any questions.
Yeah, you can just go through that. Fine. I'll
Yeah.
give you that. Okay. So that you can just go through, and if you have any doubts, you can just get back to me. It's a straightforward concept which we have, and we'll be learning memory things in next class, because you have to know what is a class and object, and you have to know the memory options, which is like whenever we are creating anything, where exactly it is saving this, and whenever I'm saying I here, how it is referring to this value, right? Whenever I'm saying I here, how it is referring to this value, right? These things are nothing but a memory pointers. You'll be learning that, which will actually play around with stack and heap, right? And then we'll move on to oops, which is in oops we should be very clear on what is a class and object. If you don't understand a class and object, you'll never understand oops, right? So that's why we will take one more class. You just go through all these things, create your own object, right? And just try out whether you are able to understand this or not, right? So in next class, if you have any doubt, you can just ask me, and I hope when I explain you the memory terms of these classes and objects and variables and methods, you will understand this very better way, right? And then we'll move on to oops concepts, right? So there we can learn some programming in Java. So that will be all for today.
Are we done with arrays?
Shiva, what is that?
Are we done with arrays?
I'm not able to
Yeah.
hear.
Arrays.
Yeah, we are done. Yeah.
So that's everything. So we don't have any.
Yeah, that's everything, and we have more advanced of arrays which we'll be learning in collections, which is advanced topic. Yeah, but that was the start of arrays,
So much an intro. Just an
right?
intro.
You have advanced thing where you'll be learning much in depth of arrays, right? Array concepts, which are actually there is a separate framework being defined for multiple collections and arrays, which is a collection framework. We'll be learning much of them there, right?
Yep.
Shiva? Yeah. So that is what we have for today, right? And let's meet up on. I think Shiva. One sec. Yeah. So
Sorry. I can't do the weekends, right?
yeah. I understand. Yeah. Let me just talk to Balaji. Are you there? I hope I have to ping Balaji maybe. Hello. Hello. Hi Balaji. Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me now? Hello? Okay, let me call up Balaji.